It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160 and 101.1 FM. Bob Pollock is with us from the extension. You can give Bob a call at 479-1160 or 349-WCCS. It's 349-9227. Bob, I have a moral dilemma this morning.
A moral dilemma?
Yes. We got this wonderful, beautiful, potted grape tomato plant earlier this year. Got it from Yarnix, a hanging basket, and it was just fantastic. It produced and produced and produced, and it's done now. But during its productive life cycle, the little chipmunk decided, I like those little things, and kept coming and stealing the grape tomatoes. And then it would sit there on the retaining wall and just chomp away at them. Always left a mess. Well, one of the seeds took root. We've got a beautiful grape tomato plant. The moral dilemma is, if the chipmunk was the one that planted it, can I keep the tomatoes for myself, or do they belong to him? Because the tomatoes are really coming on now after he planted the seed, basically, but with my tomato. See, this is the moral dilemma. You have no reply.
Well, I think the first tomato was yours to begin with.
Uh-huh.
And you've already shared.
Uh-huh.
So you could share again.
He should at least share?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll accept that. But it's a really good plant.
The other thing to do is to eliminate the competition.
Well, then who would have planted this plant? See,
you would have harvested more from the first plant had...
You think?
That intervention not happened.
I don't know. I looked yesterday. The other day there were 3 on there. Now there's 12. They're coming on good. All right, so 7:45. Enough of this tomfoolery. Let's move along, shall we?
Hey, at least you both had something to share.
There you go. News about the spotted lanternfly again this week. I see you've got a flyer over there. I didn't know that when I said that.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh-huh.
Well, and there has been more talk of that recently, and that's because the adults are out flying around them and active. And they will be active from July to December.
They look like they were pasted together from a whole bunch of different bugs at once, don't they?
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. They are very colorful.
Destructive?
Yes, colorful and pretty, but destructive and potentially destructive insect. And so it's primarily down in the southeast part of the state, which is not good for them, but good for us. We hope it doesn't come here, but we continually keep being advised that it's only a matter of time
before it gets here.
Yes. So
you mean a matter of time this year, or in coming years?
In coming years. There's no specificity on when it will get here, but because of its habits, its ability to move around, just like gypsy moth, for example. It's able to, they're figuring it's going to move. They're doing everything they can to try and contain it as much as possible, but of course it's new. They can look and see what the biology of this insect and what it does in its native ranges and everything, but that doesn't mean it will duplicate that here, and that we don't have some other predators or parasites or other forces that will get after it or limit it but it is a huge nuisance. So, but the caution for us now, the thing that we can do here is if you are traveling east, say to visit relatives or go to see something or do something
You're going to Gettysburg.
East,
You're going to Gettysburg, short of the battlefield.
Or somewhere to Philadelphia or, in that whole area down there of 13-plus counties, just be on the lookout.
Get a car wash at Sidling Hill.
Yeah, before you come back.
Okay.
Yes. Inspect your vehicle.
Okay, well, the emerald ash sparrow, we see its effect on ash trees.
Yes.
What does the spotted lanternfly, what is it going to attack if it comes?
So, tree of heaven, or ailanthus, as it's known, and we have that all around here. It's an invasive tree.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like sumac.
There's one out back
when it's young.
At the radio station.
But it literally grows into a tree. There used to be one, actually, that on the corner of 9th and Water Street, right there at the corner on where the Gazette is, that used to be an ailanthus tree standing there. It was a big, huge tree.
Yeah.
Didn't really cause any problems there, but it eventually rotted out and died.
Mm-hmm.
But we have them all along the roadsides and scattered here and there. That is the preferred host of this insect.
Oh.
So we have the ingredients here for it to reside. It also attacks a lot of other, and they're especially concerned about fruit crops, and it is a humongous nuisance to the point of if they are on your property,
Mm-hmm.
you probably will not be able to go outside.
Really?
The density and
So a huge swarm of them.
Yes, yeah. They just get, the populations are so big that you can't go out. So that's a big deal.
I'm frightened.
Yeah. Not that they're going to start sucking blood out of you.
Uh-huh.
But, so they are a sucking insect. They are sap feeders. So they get on a plant and they will stick their mouth parts in and remove sap. And then, of course, they get some nutrition from that and they pass that through their body and out the other end. So we kind of get this raining effect.
Really?
Yeah.
Lanternfly poo is falling down on us all over. Gracious sakes. Hey.
So it's a messy thing and everything else. But so, I mean, that's the caution for us now. We just need to be, it's one of those pests we need to be on the lookout. If you're doing a lot of traveling or maybe you're in the trucking business or whatever that would take you to that area, actually you're supposed to have, companies can get permits to move in and out of that quarantined area. All those counties down there are quarantined, so you're supposed to have permits in place and then be doing due diligence and following the requirements of those permits to try and keep this thing from moving around.
We might get back to that topic in a moment, but we've got a caller. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Rob, I have a question for you. We've never had brown patches, brown spots on our lawn before, and we do this year. And I'm told there's something called a brown patch fungus out there. What can you tell me about that?
Okay, so yes, with all the humidity and moisture we've had this year, that has promoted some diseases to be around, including, so it could be that brown patch, there's dollar spot. The other thing it could be is grubs. We've had a lot more Japanese beetles around the area this year, so there's a bigger population of Japanese beetles, so, and of course the grubs will feed on the turf roots, and so we can have browning out from that as well. So, of course, that life stage is past now where the adults have been out, and then, of course, they lay eggs, and then this cycle starts all over again this month with eggs hatching, and there'll be little tiny grubs there, but the damage is already done from that. But probably the difference that you can tell if it's a disease versus the grub damage is the grubs eat the roots off, so you'll be able just to lift the turf right up because there aren't any roots there anymore in those spots. If it's disease related, we'll be able to, the grass will be intact. You can grab a chunk of it. It's not going to go anywhere because the root system's still there. The whole plant may have died, though. So that's just make sure that you differentiate between those, and we don't assume it's one thing when it could be another. The dollar patch.
All right, so I don't necessarily treat it this year. I just keep my fingers crossed and hope it comes back next year.
Yeah, and it may come, some of those spots may completely, if they're smaller areas, those may die that you might need to reseed them soon.
Okay.
If it looks like the whole plant is dead, then you're going to have to reseed anyhow, so you can just prepare that and get it done really any time from now into mid-September or even a little bit later than that. But the sooner we get it done, the sooner that grass is going to grow and be green again. And then just
all right. As we get closer to September, we'll also talk about aeration. When
yes.
we aerate our lawn, is that going to compensate for just planting grass seed now?
No, because
okay.
With the aeration, and you can combine the aeration with reseeding. if you want to do it that way and make one mess, and then, make the mess with the aeration, because we're pulling those plugs up and depositing that soil back on the top of the ground and loosening things up. And at the time that you do that, when you kind of smooth out those cores that were brought up, then you could seed at that point.
Gotcha. Okay. That's what I needed to know. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
There you go. That's a good call.
And then with those diseases, they will kill turf in spots, is usually what happens, unless it's really severe. And it depends on the species of grass. And we've talked before about having most of our...
Having a blend.
When we buy seed, it's always a mixture of different varieties. And that's exactly one of the reasons why, is because, all these varieties are just like people in a sense. We're all different. We all have, we're more resistant to some things and more susceptible to other things. And so those plants, some are very susceptible to brown patch and other diseases. Other ones are less susceptible. So having that mixture in there, and as you go between Kentucky bluegrass species to ryegrass to fescues, between those three types, there are varying, there's pluses and minuses to each one of those. So having that mixture there helps us compete against some of these diseases and pests that might be a problem. So one thing can get wiped out and another can be okay.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get this last caller in before we're out of time. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I have a question. I have a knockout rose bush, and the leaves have a lot of holes in them. I don't know what to do to make it look healthy again.
And those holes could have been the result of Japanese beetle adults feeding on there, and you may or may have not noticed that at the time. They can kind of come in, do their thing, and unless you're looking at them all the time, you can miss that.
Right.
So those leaves, they've got holes in them. There's a couple other little caterpillars that may have done that damage as well. They're probably gone at this point. So those leaves, they're damaged. If they stay green, they're going to hang on, but they're going to look a little ragged.
Right.
Some of them may start to get a little brown or eventually die. You'll probably get some new growth.
Yeah, and it looks good.
Yes, okay.
All right.
Yeah, but we can't really do anything for what's damaged, especially, both with Japanese beetles and some of the larvae that might have come and fed on there. Both the adult beetles have tailed off because the adults mate, and then the adults die, and then the grub stage starts all over again.
Should she take the shoot off? Take the branch off?
No, I would leave the branches there. Unless they're competing or crossing over or something has died, in those cases you can remove it, but there'll still be buds. Even though those leaves are damaged, the branch is still alive. There are going to be buds there along there. In fact, those branches where the leaves are damaged may push out new growth yet this summer anyhow.
All right.
When I do see that starting, should I dust it with like 7 or something like that?
Yes, so if it was Japanese beetles, that would be, that would work for that. Yep.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
All right, you are welcome.
Thank you for
Bye-bye.
calling. And boy, she took us right up to the marker.
There we
How
go.
about that?
Look at that.
We appreciate that. All right, thank you, Robert.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160, 101.1 FM. Fair season starting next week, huh?
It is.
The Dayton
Fair begins, doesn't it?
Indiana County Fair is coming up in just a couple of weeks. It is the voice of Indiana County, WCCS, AM 1160, 101.1 FM.